Hello, Assalamu alaikum. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I'm Dr. Javed Iqbal Khokar, Professor of Forensic Medicine and Toxicology. As we're discussing law related to medical men, and this is the 7th lecture of this series. And in this lecture, I will be discussing the plea of insanity, and which is usually taken in the law courts to negate the criminal responsibility. So the contents of today's talk will be that I will be talking about what is plea of insanity and why it is taken, and what are three most important verdicts which are applicable in these situations, like unfit to plead, guilty but insane, and diminished responsibility. Then we'll discuss various tests to prove the insanity, like McNaughton's rule, policeman at the shoulder test, which is also known as irresistible impulse, and Durham's rule. So starting with the topic, plea of insanity. Plea of insanity, when raised in the court of law as a defense, and there it results in any of the three verdicts during the course of the proceedings, like the verdicts which are commonly, they are used as unfit to plead, guilty but insane, and diminished responsibility. So these are the three verdicts which are most commonly during the proceedings of the court, they are discussed. In unfit to plead, the plea is that it is applicable in those situations when the defendant was sane at the time of commissioning of the crime. But later on, he subsequently became insane, and thus now he is not capable of defending himself. So the legal proceeding will be suspended till such time that the defendant restores his sanity, and then the proceedings will start. The next verdict is the guilty but insane. It means this is applicable in those situations when the defendant was insane even at the time of the commissioning of the crime. And because of his insanity, he gets completely absorbed of his guilt because he does not know the nature of his act and hence cannot be held responsible. So the third verdict, that is diminished responsibility. This is applicable to the defendants in those situations who is not completely absolved, but the severity of his sentence is mitigated or reduced. And this depends upon various situations because of some reduction in his criminal responsibility due to some diseases of mind which mitigate the responsibility. Now, talking about the tests for the insanity. Both the medical and the legal authority, they are in accord that no test presently employed is perfect to resolve the issues of criminal responsibility. And there has been no reforms in spite of this accord. Both the authorities understand that there is no perfect test, but even then no reforms have been devised. The majority of the countries, a test which was employed as McNaughton's rule, that is applicable. It originated in UK in 1843 and is still prevailing to establish lack of criminal responsibility. So what is McNaughton's rule? The defense has to prove that at the time of commissioning of the crime, the accused was suffering from a defect of reason, and that defect of reason was due to disease of mind, and that due to disease of mind, he did not know the nature and quality of his act, and that if he did know it, then he did not know what he was doing was wrong. So the McNaughton rules, it is also referred as right from wrong, that things are going wrongly, but he presumed them as right. So this test has been vastly criticized for the reason because it fails to declare those criminal acts which are the products of truly diseased mind. So the Americans have supplemented the McNaughton's rule by their rule, which is named as the irresistible impulse. And this is also known as policeman at the shoulder, which means that the defendant, due to disease of his mind, continues to act in his own way, even when the policeman has been standing at his side. Normally, he should stop by seeing the police, he should stop what he is doing, but he continues to act in his own way as he was doing even in the presence of the police. The greatest improvement which was made since McNaughton's rule is the Durham's rule. This is most important because it was postulated in 1954 by United States of Court of Appeal, and they gave a verdict. Following this decision, an accused is not criminally responsible if his unlawful act is the product of mental disease. So, first of all, we have to determine that the person is suffering from mental disease, then unlawful act will not be responsible on the shoulder of the accused. So this Durham rule is based on the medical concepts. While in contrast, the McNaughton rule takes the defendant's capacity to make the moral judgment, whereas Durham rule takes the medical concept and medical opinion is superior. Similar to these cases where the defense takes the plea of insanity, there are other situations like where the plea is taken as involuntary intoxication, that this act has been done or constituted under the influence of some drug or some intoxication due to alcohol or other drugs. Then mental immaturity. And if the allegation of intoxication, then you have to prove that this intoxication was not deliberately taken by him, but it was instituted by some other person. Similarly, mental immaturity of younger age is also taken as plea. Because we know that the age under the 7, no criminal responsibility can be fixed because this age is innocent age. And similarly, the age between 7 to 12 is presumption of innocence. And in this stage, because it depends upon the majority of the judgment and understanding the nature and consequences of the act. And the punishment which will be awarded will be lesser punishment. This age is presumed to be innocent, but if the child is physically and mentally developed enough to understand the nature of the act, then he is held responsible. Then in such cases, the medical evidence has its great value. So the summary of today's talk is that we talked about the plea of insanity, which is taken in the court of law, and 3 verdicts which are issued usually: unfit to plead, guilty but insane, and diminished responsibility. Then we discussed various tests which have to determine the insanity, like McNaughton's rule, policeman at the shoulder test, and the Durham's rule. Thank you very much. Take care. Allah Hafiz. Please subscribe to my channel and this is my channel name, Dr. Javed Iqbal Khokar,